to Saron Things, a podcast where we talk about pop culture, reality TV, and a bunch of other things that smart women care about. I am your host, Saron Alcaba. How do you guys diddly do? I hope you're doing well, my darlings. Oh, look at all of the alliteration. We're already off to a fantastic start. I want to start off with a singular housekeeping item. The podcast has been live for about 3 months now, and I feel like I've learned a lot, as well as understanding what timing would be best to put the show out every week. And I have finally decided it is going to be every Tuesday. It works with my schedule. It's just going to be the easiest to be able to record and edit and balance all the other things that I have going on. Starting today, you will get a new episode of Saron Things every Tuesday, everywhere you can find podcasts. And yeah, that's the only thing that's changing. So let's jump right on into all of our segments for the day. We start out with main character things. And my main character things happened actually very recently. So if you follow me on Instagram, and I suggest you do if you want like the inner workings of my brain, it's where I'm the most probably vulnerable, the most open about my day-to-day life. The venue where I share the most about myself. So I've talked about how I go to Starbucks almost every morning. I'm not going to tell you, I switch it up which Starbucks I go to, but that is neither here nor there. I was walking out with my shaken oat milk espresso latte, four shots of espresso, and an extra pump of caramel. That's my preferable order. But anyways, I'm walking out. Henry is walking on the floor right beside me. I hear someone go, "Miss, ma'am." And I look up, and there's a homeless fellow sitting like by a tree on the sidewalk in front of me. And he explicitly goes, "Do you have $1 to spare? Do you have money to spare?" And I look down, and I have this fanny pack on, and it's open, and there are dollar bills visible. Like I don't know if he saw them, but he could see them, possibly. And one thing about me is I will pay basically any amount of money to get out of an uncomfortable situation. So I'm just trying to get home. I'm like, whatever, here you go. And so I pull out the two singular dollar bills. I hand them to this man. And as I'm handing the cash over, I look up, and there is another man crossing the street about to walk past us as we have this interaction, as we do this exchange. And some important details are this homeless man is white. Okay. The man who was the observer, the man who was crossing the street, passing us by, watching us, I gave this white homeless man money, was a black man. And I swear to God, that man makes eye contact with me and gives me the most confused, "What the fuck are you doing, bitch?" look. Like, what? That's not how reparations work. And I swear, I'm not the type to think that anybody is actually thinking about me. I don't really like, if you're not explicitly telling me how you feel, if you don't explicitly tell me what's going on, I'm just going to assume everything is all right. But when I looked at the man, the horror in his face was just something else. It was completely undeniable. So I want to say it to that man, if you're listening, and I know he obviously is, you're right. You're absolutely correct. That is not the way that's supposed to work. But I don't know if this makes it better, but I am Ethiopian, right? Born there, family there, generations. So technically, the reparations wouldn't be going to me, okay? But I understand the optics. If a white man can't make it in this world, who is my black ass to be the one to lift him, to pull bootstraps, boo? Get those bootstraps and pull him. But again, I will pay money to get out of uncomfortable situations, to move through things quicker, to avoid conversation. And thus I gave him the cash. But to that black man who was very confused, you were correct. Honestly, if I am in that same situation again, I'd probably do the exact same thing. But no, you have a point. You very much have a point. That is not the direction that reparations should flow. And yeah. Okay. That is all for main character things this week. I want to move on to things that pop so we can talk about pop culture. There's so much to catch up on. All right. Let's start with Justin and Hailey, okay? She did her first solo American Vogue cover this month, and it was beautiful, incredible. But unfortunately, the way that her husband, Justin, chose to celebrate it is by posting a caption where he says that he once told her she would never be on the cover of Vogue, which I think is weird because one, she was on the cover of Vogue of American Vogue in 2019 with Justin himself, and she's also been on the various international Vogue covers. So American Vogue is like obviously the anchor magazine. It's the biggest deal. It's the head honcho. So I understand why he would pull that one out of the bunch, but still like super petty. And the thing is, he stole her thunder. Along with the cover shoot, she did a Vogue What's in My Bag, right? And in it, she finally took the narrative back. She talked about how what she keeps in her bag is like a tincture that she had a witch cast a spell on to make a Canadian pop star fall in love with her. Cute, hilarious. A bunch of cell phones where she said, "Oh, I use these to like stalk and leave anonymous comments and blah blah blah." Like she fully leaned into it. She made it funny. People were laughing with her and not at her for the first time in her entire marriage. And this motherfucker has to go out on his Instagram and then post their like dirty laundry. Now is not the time for that. And then to add insult to injury, people sleuths picked up the fact that in 2016, Kendall Jenner had a Vogue America cover. I believe it was her first Vogue America cover. And he posted her on her feed, and his caption was, "You look great. Ken, you look beautiful. Ken, you look beautiful. Congratulations." 5 words. And perfect. Like, why couldn't he do that for his wife? So strange to me. And then, oh my God, there are 2 more things. Plus the fact that on Mother's Day, on his first Mother's Day, he put up a post saying, "Mom, I love you, but Mother's Day fucking sucks." This was literally his wife's first Mother's Day as a mother. He knows that the thing that stresses her out the most is the fact that people are constantly doubting her relationship, saying that he hates her. This didn't help either. And then there's some 17-year-old model that looks like fucking Selena Gomez's doppelganger that he just commented, "I love you" on her post. It's weird. It's weird. Like, I want to be of the mind that they are in a happy, loving relationship, but I don't think that's the case. And I also don't think that Hailey's the problem. I have settled on her being a goal oriented queen. Okay. She got her eyes on the prize. She got her prize, right? Unless she drugged him or actually cast some kind of voodoo spell on him, as long as she's being good to him now, as long as she's supporting him and loving him and give him what he like being a good person to him now, what the fuck do we care? It's the problem is not with Hailey anymore. It's with her clearly spiraling drug addicted husband, allegedly. So it's just such a fucking bummer. I really thought that after I saw that Vogue 21, like what's in my bag video, that this was going to be a big turning point in the like narrative about their relationship, but he couldn't let that happen. He simply could not let that happen. He likes her stressed out, I think. Otherwise, why don't you just shut the fuck up and let her live her life? So she pulled this tincture out of her bag in her Vogue What's in My Bag video. And she says this thing about, "Oh, I cast a spell on him with this tincture. I put it in my mouth every night. A witch did some voodoo over it, blah, blah, blah." And it brought me back to this TikTok video where it was a pastor and his wife talking to some podcaster. And the wife was saying something about how her husband, the pastor, had an affair on her, and eventually she found herself washing not only her adulterous husband's laundry, but also his mistress's, because that's what God would want her to do. And someone said, "That's a bitch that did a love spell on a person who was unwilling." This is an example of a woman who used magic to cast a spell on a man to be with her who never wanted to be with her. And that's how this manifests into this ugly, unhappy union that neither of them can break from for some reason. Do I believe that? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But it's giving Justin and Hailey, right? If she did cast a spell on him, this is actually how that would manifest in the world. Darkness. Not good. Not good. Not good at all. Next topic. Blake Lively, Justin Bieber, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and Bryan Freedman, and Taylor Swift, actually. So Bryan Freedman said he's dropping the subpoena that was sent to Taylor Swift about Blake Lively potentially extorting her public support by threatening to release 10 years of text messages if she doesn't say something to the world about how she backs Blake Lively in this insane fight she's having with Justin Baldoni. So a lot of people from Blake's camp were like, oh, this is such a win. He knew it was stupid and pointless. So, of course, he's just not enforcing the subpoena. I don't think you formally drop a subpoena. I think you just say, I'm not moving forward with this anymore. But the thing is, most legal experts I've heard say that it's probably a good sign for Baldoni because that probably means that Freedman got exactly what he wanted. And if you can get what you want without having the courts involved, without subpoenas, without motions and paperwork, then that's the way they're going to do it. And everybody is saying that it's Scott Swift, Taylor Swift's dad, who reached out to Freedman and had that 1 hour long conversation where he explained how his daughter Taylor was being extorted by Blake and her team. And this seems there hasn't been any word from Taylor's camp denying it. And it feels real to me, guys. That's his daughter, his only daughter. I can imagine the anger he would feel if that was true. Plus the fact that Travis Kelce unfollowed Ryan Reynolds the day before the news came out about the subpoena. And another point in this was a good thing for the Baldoni team and not Lively was the fact that after the subpoena it was very clear that it was no longer going to be enforced by Justin Baldoni's legal team. No one said anything publicly. Not Venable and Taylor Swift's camp, not Bryan Freedman, Justin Baldoni, or anyone on that camp. The only person's team that spoke up saying that this was a good thing is Blake Lively. And that could potentially indicate that a deal was struck, that I share this information with you. Perhaps it was the email sent from Taylor Swift's camp to Lively's camp saying, you're trying to extort me. Stop talking to me. I have a feeling they got that letter. And if Scott Peterson, oh God, if Scott Swift was more than happy to turn that over, there's no need to go through any kind of formal legal process to get the information. Subpoenas are sent out when it's a third party, someone who's not named in the case, has information that's pertinent to the legal action. That's how you reach out and get that information. Otherwise, you can only receive information through discovery from the defendants that are named in the lawsuit or the prosecution. So I have a feeling this is going to be Taylor Swift's first and only formal action within this whole Baldoni Lively drama. Okay. The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I finally finished it. This is a perk of having this episode late on our new day. I got to watch everything and it's all so fresh in my mind. And I must start with Zach and Jen. Oh, what a disaster. First, it was like, did Zach get some kind of exorcism? Who is this man? Who is a supportive king? And then we got to Jen talking to Demi and Jesse. And allegedly, Jen told Demi and Jesse that Zach had gambled away his money for medical school. And when Jesse and Demi confront Zach and Jen about this, Jen is, no, that never happened. What are you talking about? And she looks at Zach and he's like, do you want to handle this? So what I think is that Jen was definitely being honest with Demi and Jesse the first time around when she said that Zach had gambled away money his parents gave him for medical school, okay? He definitely, in my opinion, gambled away money that his parents gave him for medical school. And then once they realized this, they cut him off. So he cannot enroll in his first year of medical school. It's not that he's doing it to be closer to my family. I literally think he gambled away the money for enrollment. So he's deferring for a year and trying to figure out how to raise that money. And this also explains him no longer going to church and moving away from conservative Mormonism, because his bad behavior was very much showcased on national television, including his gambling. And his parents are probably very pissed at him. So now he's like, I guess now that I have no money to pay for med school, no money, period, actually, I think I'm going to just make it work with my wife and kids. That's what it's fucking giving. Also, this might be a controversial take because I do believe that two things can be true at once. But I think that Jen backing out of recording the rest of the season had equal parts to do with her being embarrassed that she lied so aggressively to basically everyone about everything. And her needing to take time for her mental health because she wasn't in a good place and she needed to be good for her baby. I think that she has a hard time with the truth. And when I started watching the show, I was fully ready to believe Jen. Jesse and Demi are the fucking worst. But again, two things can be true. Jen can be a liar, Jesse and Demi can be the worst. And that does seem to be what it is. Like with the whole Chippendale situation at that party. I was shaken when they flashed back to the conversation with Jen and Jesse's getting her hair done with Jesse, saying okay, clearly hearing what they had planned. And then the next day, because she doesn't want to deal with the trouble with her husband, she's just going to lie and say, "Oh, I didn't know anything about that." I understand that you're trying to avoid conflict, but being an adult is having to deal with it. Especially you're on reality television. This shit is being recorded. And I also I don't understand why Jen would send her husband to talk to Jesse and Demi if she knew she was lying. Not the mathematics are so weird to me. She's just very immature and she makes me sad. Oh my god. And another thing about that fucking party with the Chippendales. This is when we have to get into Demi being a fucking psychopath. When she walked into that room and yelled at her husband, "He laid his hands on me." He didn't lay his hands on you. He like grazed your arm as he was walking past you in a crowded room at a party. It's so fucking scary. She just activated him like this, knowing that it was going to be disastrous, not caring who got hurt, hoping that punches would be thrown, hoping to cause chaos. It's actually sick. I don't like that at all. It's very unnerving. She doesn't know right from wrong. I don't get it. We witnessed that a whole lot this season. Demi is a bad person on almost every fucking level. The cease and desist that she tried to send Jen for talking about how she was being overly flirtatious in Italy with that Mauricio or Marciano, whatever, to what trying to stage a coup and kick Taylor out of Mom Talk. First of all, who told you you had that kind of authority? Who, when she said I was the fan favorite, and what can be given can be taken away, darling, and that shit is gone now. Wh- you don't think that Taylor is, the best representation of Mom Talk? It's our business. She started the business. She's the president and she's the CEO. She's the majority shareholder. There is no Mom Talk without Taylor Frankie Paul. All right. And another thing about Taylor Frankie Paul, she is the only one I trust. I believe all of those women are liars to a certain extent. They're all hiding things. They're all trying to figure out, how can I be on this show that's meant to be salacious while not being so vulnerable that people actually see my humanity and how my family operates, the way the way we speak to each other. The fucking skeletons in their closet, they're still trying to figure out how to appear to be open and vulnerable without actually sharing any vulnerability. When you have Taylor fucking bleeding out this shit. She is dying for her craft. And she said as much, and she's telling the fucking truth. She doesn't hold anything back. And the emotion she shares is raw, and that shit cannot be faked. And she's just like in it to win it. So it's very obvious that these conservative women are having a very hard time showing that they are not the picture of trad wife civility. And it's stressful. Layla is so fucking annoying. She was the pawn, the puppet of production this entire season. They had her do a lot of their dirty work. She just kept bringing up shit that had absolutely nothing to do with her. And then the pregnancy bit, like the pregnancy test roulette, crazy decision. I know production was the one who said, "Hey, let's do it." There's no way she was just like, "Oh, my period's late, so let's play this." No, it was production that definitely set her up to do that. Demi's response, batshit crazy, buck motherfucking wild. It is insane. Jesse's reaction to Demi's reaction, equally insane. Come on, guys. Someone has to tell her who's pregnant. It's just not fair. Look at what you're doing to her. What the fuck are you talking about, Jesse? You have bigger fish to be frying than why Demi's crying right now. That woman hates you, right? Taylor Frankie Paul talked to Demi, say, I'm going to go get my hair colored with Jesse. And Demi was like, oh my God, don't ever do that. She's taking money out of your children's mouth. And you're worried about why she's boo-hooing in the corner? No, she is a bad motherfucking person. You don't know anything about Demi. None of us know anything about Demi. Other than she has a huge ego. She's cute. She's annoying. And she's also 30. You should be better than this. You should be more mature than what we're seeing here. You should have learned something. I don't know. I hate all of these bitches. The only 3 I fuck with, Taylor, Michaela, Macy. Everybody else is a weirdo. Michaela is a gangster. She is not playing any games with you. She's not mincing her words, and she's not beating around the bush. If she doesn't like you, you will know about it. She won't placate you. She will tell you with a smile on her face. And she's not backing down. I swear, with Whitney, first of all, fuck that trifling bitch. I cannot believe that Taylor Frankie Paul was the only person to raise her hand to allow Whitney back in the group because I believe in second chances, blah, blah, blah. And then Whitney, when Demi is trying to stage a coup and kick Taylor out, she's like, I don't know. Shut up, Whitney. There is a darkness in Whitney too. Whitney and Demi, bottom of the pyramid, 2 women I would never share any information with. I know that Whitney, we saw some of her softer side when she was dealing with Jen, but I don't know if that's an isolated incident. Even the worst of people can be nice every once in a while. That doesn't change it at their core. You cannot trust that bitch as far as you can throw her. There's just something she's just the whitest woman. She's white. And just the way she cries about everything and the way she can't take accountability for anything. The word salads. It's too much. I can't deal with her at all. I think she's beautiful, but she's just so fake and affected. And they all care about the stupidest things. They don't care about real things. They, It's incredible. And I love Macy, but when Macy said that Jesus was a Mormon, that one threw me for a loop. I made a TikTok about that one. You can catch that information there. But I'm pretty sure Jesus was a Jew, and I'm almost certain that's the one thing that we can all the religions agree on. So what the fuck are you? Anyways, back to the point at hand. Demi is a psychopath. Her crying upon finding out that 2 of the girls were pregnant, diabolical. And the way she did it. It was not a graceful, like, congratulations. Oh, that's so nice. I'm going to just excuse myself. It's a fucking just hysterical. Yeah, I'm going to call her hysterical, just weeping. And I understand fertility is is a hard road for some. And sure, perhaps she has my empathy, maybe. But that doesn't change that the women who took these pregnancy tests didn't do it on purpose to hurt you. And you certainly shouldn't ever see someone else's pregnancy as an attack on you. People, regardless of their circumstance, when they make moments like this about themselves, it really gives you a clear idea of who they are. Completely self-centered, zero self-awareness, just selfish egomaniacs. And I stand hard by that. She displayed that behavior in her interactions with quite literally everybody in the group. I don't understand how she could say Taylor Frankie Paul is a problem. All she did was make a fucking TikTok saying, it's just funny that nobody supported me. And I think that Taylor is wrong in that situation. I think it's weird and embarrassing for her soul to admit that she cared that much about these women commenting, the typing out of words underneath this picture, especially when so many of them reached out to her personally and said some shit. I think that's lame. I think that's weird. I think that's wrong. Even if it was some coordinated effort to make Taylor feel like shitty and alone, I still don't think that Taylor should bring that up, because bringing up that they did that is lamer than what they did. But at the end of the day, is that worthy of a coup? Is that worthy of Demi gathering the troops and putting it to a vote whether or not Taylor can stay in this group that she herself built? Bitch, get the fuck up out of here. And then when she was like, if she's in, I'm out, get the fuck out then. Go. Why are you still here? Why are you still sitting here, Demi? Why? Full of shit. Nobody cares if you walk. Nobody cares if you walk. What she did to Jesse when they were trying to negotiate for a bigger contract, saying Jesse doesn't have to be here. Who are you to be cutting, slicing, and dicing? Who are you to decide what the fat is and when it should be trimmed? What is so great about you, Demi? Oh, God, it is absurd. And when she claimed that Jesse was selfish for still remaining on the show and in Mom Talk because she's independently wealthy, because she has this like hairstyling empire, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. That That's not how that works. You don't cap out. There's no maxing out in how much financial independence or how much money you can earn, okay? You should know that big problem here in the United States, a big problem around the world. And that's her best friend. This is what leads me to believe she doesn't actually have any friends. If you can do that to your best friend, listen, if my best friend in the world had a hair salon and she dyed people's hairs, and even if I knew she was shitty, listen, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything at all. I am going to say you should go to her and act surprised if something goes awry. That's what a friend does. Am I wrong? As you all know, I'm of the mind of 7 billion people on this planet. You only have to ride and ride hard for a few. Why are you going to be the op? Why do you want to cut them down? It's competition. I've heard somewhere, or maybe I probably saw this on TikTok, that like only people who are miserable in their own lives, in their own noggins, it's impossible for them to be happy for anyone. So, like, to me, you saw the look on her face when Macy announced her book deal. Disdain. Okay. Every time she talks about Taylor Frankie Paul, disdain. Taylor is the fan favorite. You were a fan favorite maybe for a season. Chuck that shit out the window. Taylor Frankie Paul, she's always going to be the fan favorite because she's always going to be herself. And herself isn't perfect. Herself makes mistakes. Herself can be a mouthy broad and makes odd decisions at some of it. But at the end of the day, we know that she's decent on the inside, that her intentions are good, that she's able to acknowledge all of her faults, not only within her romantic relationships, but even in her interpersonal relationships with her friends and her family. And she's shown an almost like a superhuman amount of empathy to these women and even to her family. Oh my God. Taylor Frankie Paul's family. First of all, when her stepdad, when she said, "Oh, I'm going to be Gretchen Wieners from Mean Girls on Halloween," and he said, like a sexy Gretchen. First of all, sir, what the fuck do you? I had to pause the TV and gag a little. She said, "I'm going to be wearing a cat suit, so I'm going to be really covered up." And Taylor Frankie Paul, I know you said that you love that man and he raised you and he's like your dad. But that's weird. That's weird. That's creepy. I know you think that's weird and creepy too. Just let me know if he says any weird shit like that again, and I'll have a talk to him because listen, you don't have that many like you only had him as a male role model growing up. And he was the only father figure that showed you love. And it is important to me that he doesn't act like a creep because you deserve a good man to be watching out for you. But then I already know he's not a good man because I heard the way that man talked to you when they tricked you into having lunch with Dakota. That man called you a whore and said you deserve to be lied to because you jumped into bed too fast with him. Oh, but I guess that's just religion for you. I guess that is just religion for you. And rewind to Macy saying that Jesus was Mormon. I laugh at that and I'm like, oh, that's fucking crazy. But I do say that while I understand that every religion has some fantastical shit that you just have to have faith in and believe and not try too hard to wrap your mind around because there is absolutely no logical sense to be made and nothing tangible that you can find that will confirm that what you're believing is true. Okay. It's a lot of faith. There's a lot of crazy shit in every single religion. That was just a new one for me with a very established character, new lore. That one just threw me for a loop. Enough about Jesus. Can I just say, with Chippendales and with what's it called again? Like the skinny dipping stuff, I am not religious, right? I'm ethnically Jewish. I believe in God. I'm not conservative in any way, shape, or form. That being said, I'm not it's probably skinny dipping in front of a bunch of cameras. I'm not. It's just I just don't feel. It's just not me. It doesn't feel like something I would want to do. Chippendales, ew. I think that male strippers are disgusting. I think they are absolutely gross. I don't think any man needs that much muscle. What are you fucking overcompensating for? What are you doing in the gym? How long do you spend in the gym? What else do you do? Do you read books? What are you talking about? The only time I've ever found a male stripper remotely attractive, obviously Magic Mike, Channing Tatum, but that's just because they don't all dance like that, guys. They all don't have those moves. So unless you're Channing Tatum, C to the T, I don't want to see it. And if I was Zach watching that, I would think this is the least sexy thing I've ever seen. Jen doesn't look into it. Like, and also we saw on Jen's, what's it called again? On her social media that they eventually did go on a date night together to Chippendales, Zach and Jen in Las Vegas. So I'm glad they've conquered that, but it's just, they're not sexy. I don't, maybe there's something in me that just thinks that men who are too buff are stupid. Buff. I don't even like that word. I don't know. Any man who cares that much about how he looks is just not my man. Another thing about Jen, before we go, is that when Zach was talking to, I can't remember who, Whitney and her husband about Jen's struggles, he said that 90% of what she's going through right now has to do with mom talk. And I don't want to be insensitive, but I might be insensitive. What the fuck are you talking about? How could it possibly be that dancing in a circle with a handful of women, this is causing you to spin out? I am so sorry, but what the fuck are you talking about? But I want to say, buck up, buttercup, girl. It's not, life is harder. And also, if we've seen anything from Whitney, whether or not you're in Mom Talk, whether or not you're allowed in one of those like soulless beige McMansions to dance in front of a tripod poorly with a bunch of extensioned, bleached blonde faux Mormons, if that's what's tearing your world apart, girl, you need to figure this out because it shouldn't be. Like Taylor, we see her falling apart. We can see why. She's terribly disappointed in herself for basically every decision she's ever made. She's calling herself a slut constantly in her brain. I know she's freaked out about the fact that she has 2 baby daddies, and that's just not the life that she envisioned for herself, and that's not the life that her family envisioned for her, and that's why they're like begging her to stay with this man that she can't trust despite knowing that he's lied to her. Despite it being the same man who they didn't want her to be with prior to her having a baby. And if she meets someone new, the love of her life, the person that she actually wants to spend her life with, she probably will want to have kids with that person. So does that mean that she's a 3 baby daddy mama? I can understand why that would be running through her head constantly, worrying about how she's going to be perceived given where she was raised and how she was raised. She can't help it. She can't help it, and it's eating her the fuck up, and it shouldn't. I wish I could fucking get that into her brain, but like hopefully therapy is helping her get there. And then the empathy that she shows people who fuck her over is wild. She's just like a good messy bitch, and she's a great mom, and she will continue to be a great mom no matter how many children that she has. I think that the ability to actually reflect on your behavior in real time is not one that many people possess. Often people need a lot of space and distance to get that like 50,000 foot view of whatever the fuck is going on and how they're playing a part in their own demise, in the demise of their relationships. But Taylor's got a finger on the pulse of who she is. And that doesn't mean that she loves herself. She doesn't love, not yet, but she understands herself. She doesn't give herself any grace, and she should. She's just an incredible example, I think. And I'm sure that if she heard me say that, she'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I do think she's a great example of how people should move in this world. You don't have to be perfect, but You do have to learn from your mistakes. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be honest with how you're coping and how you got there. And she's able to do that masterfully. Her vulnerability is also a superpower because that bitch lays it all out there. Like I said, she bleeds out for her craft and she should be getting paid the most. Mm, let's move on to my second fave, Michaela the Gangster. She has seen some shit. She's been through so much. So I completely understand why she would be particularly sensitive about new people coming in and out of mom talk, because I would imagine she has trust issues and now she's found this supportive unit, her chosen family, when her mom and her dad fucking failed her. She wants to preserve it and make sure that everything remains okay. And Whitney is she's insidious. There's always something going on under the surface that you never quite know what it is. She has alternate motives. She's also one of those that is obsessed with how Taylor is always and always has been, always will be the fan favorite. And I will never get over her not fucking backing Taylor after Taylor was the only one who said she could come back. I can't. Bitch, you better never make that mistake again, Taylor. Never again. If I see Whitney commenting like hearts on your posts now, I will flip my lid. Because Taylor, there's a fine line between forgiving and fucking stupid. Do not cross the line into fucking stupid. Because, girl, fool me twice. It's shame on me. It's shame on you. Ugh, the worst. Michaela has dealt with so much in her life and still she thrives. She's so boundaried. That bitch is a fighter. I just love she just has a swag about her. Did you see her shake her ass? Michaela, where did you learn that? Because you grew up in Utah. You're a Mormon. How did you learn to shake your ass like that? I was shaken to my core. She dances like a stripper. And I mean that in the most complimentary of ways. Okay. She looks like has some experience on a pole. And I know that she doesn't. Maybe she takes strip aerobics or like pole dancing classes. I wonder if Mormon women do that. Honestly, it seems like Mormon women do everything. They just lie about it and are extra judgy about it when it's brought up in public. That seems to be the commonality here. And then there's Macy the sweetie. Macy is just a reasonable bitch. She is a great mom. She's honest. She doesn't talk out of both sides of her mouth. She is about to be a published author. She seems like a decent person, like someone with really good insides. Okay. Jessie, there's something wrong with her. She's a sniveling fuck right alongside Layla. Layla, I understand you grew up with a lot of white people. I did as well. That's still no excuse to be such a sniveling fuck. Get it together. Have a backbone. Figure out what you believe. Figure out who you are. You're a fucking ship without a sail out here. You're stressed. And I think you should go to therapy. I think there's a lot of important therapy that needs to happen. I do not believe. Listen, I don't know what the Black therapist community in Utah is like, but get yourself a telemedicine appointment with a Black therapist. For fuck's sake, girl, you can't live like this forever. I was just so disappointed in her when she looked at Taylor and she was like, of course I'll defend you. And she just sat there with her eyes wide open on that couch as Taylor got attacked. I know you're scared of Demi, but buck up. You got to figure that shit out. Who cares what Demi thinks? Demi hasn't been successful in a single one of her attempts at ruining one of these bitches' lives. She tried to get Jessie kicked off the show. No. She tried to get Taylor kicked off the show. No. She's not good at that. She's a lot of like bark, zero bite. Zero bite. Thank God the cameras are on with that fucking compulsive ass liar. Demi certainly doesn't give a fuck about Jessie. Jessie, she is so annoyed and jealous of because she doesn't feel like Jessie, one, deserves her empire, all of her money. She's annoyed that Jessie is so rich because she sees Jessie as like less than her. And when they were at dinner and Taylor asked to me, like, okay, what if you and I had a falling out? Would you be fighting for me to be off of the show? And she was like, never, not you. So what, you think Jesse is expendable? Your best friend? And Taylor said, I wouldn't even do that to any of these girls. And I'm actually the head girl in the group. I'm the queen here. And I would never just be like, hey, if you're not going to fight for the same salary as us, we're just not going to have you around anymore. And I believe Taylor when she says that, because the bitch has feelings far more than she should, frankly, especially when you're down. She's a kind of person who wants to pick you up. And she definitely doesn't want to be adding to any of your stress. She's a forgiving bitch. I'm so glad I don't have that trait. I am so glad that is not something that haunts me. After what Demi did, I don't understand how you can move past it. I don't understand how Jesse moved past it. I don't understand how Taylor moves past it. Taylor, I would say teach me your ways, but I don't want to. I don't want to be that person. First of all, I want to be a little scary. I think I have already solidified that. I want to be the kind of scary that when some person verbalizes that they are going to do something that is out of pocket, that someone else would look at them and say, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Like, this came up with flights to bachelorettes. I've gone to a bazillion bachelorettes all over this fucking world. And he's all, and the question came up, is it okay if you're going on a destination bachelorette trip to fly separately, to fly first class when everybody else is flying coach? The question threw me for a fucking loop. What do you mean? How does my arrival and departure have anything to do with anybody else? How is that anybody else's business? I don't have a single friend who would be comfortable questioning how I choose to travel. So, yeah, no, it is not weird to travel first class if everybody else is traveling coach. How would you know what my seat was in the first place? Also, are you planning on talking to me on this flight? I'm not talking to you on this flight. I'm going to have my headphones in. I'm going to be asleep. Are you out of your mind? So, that's the kind of situation. Like, in that circumstance, if one of the bridesmaids at the bachelorette was like, oh, Saron, she's about to fly first class and she's not going to be seated with us. Isn't that weird? You want me to talk to her? I want the bride to be like, oh no, I wouldn't. I would just leave that one alone. Leave it. Leave it. I think that Taylor is scarier to men than she is to women. Like, it's hard for her to not empathize to a woman that's struggling, but she is so good at tearing a man apart like immediately. It takes a while for that anger to build with Taylor and women, but with men, she's ready to slice and dice, and I fucking love that energy from her. Oh, what a quan. What a quani. Also, Dakota, fuck you. Gross. That's all I gotta say. He's giving, first of all, poor. Why are all of these men so poor? It's insane. I think that's basically all with mom talk, right? Did I forget anyone? Okay, the last person to address is Miranda. She cracked me up when she was like flailing about in that lobster costume at the Halloween party. Miranda is the other lady in the swinger scandal. And she and Taylor had a falling out when Taylor told everybody that she was a swinger and named the couples that were involved, and they didn't speak for 3 years, and now she's back, and everybody's like, oh, now you want to come back? Because why? And it's obviously because of the success of the show, and some of people are trying to paint her out to be some kind of villain or like fake or clout chasing because of it. What are you guys talking about? You're standing in front of a camera doing a viral dance with 5 other grown women every single day. Yeah, you all want attention. It's not exactly the most like revelatory, unique, even particularly interesting work that you guys are doing here. It is lucrative. Sure, but she also has her own following. All of these women, they don't share a mom talk account. They're individuals. Yeah, she wants to be back in because it is getting very popular and you guys are getting a lot of attention, and that obviously equals like some kind of monetary gain. Does that make her a bad person? No. No, it doesn't. It just makes her the same as all of you. And that's perfectly fine. Listen, I'm sitting here in front of a camera and a microphone right now, who I obviously want attention as well. There's nothing wrong with that. I think denying that and trying to vilify someone for seeking out the same thing that you are, perhaps in a different manner. She had a different circumstance, different drama, and different healing. So I'm glad that Miranda has returned. I am annoyed that she also didn't fucking stand up for Taylor, but it is what it is. She and Taylor seem to be doing fine now. And Taylor, as usual, is a forgiving Quan. Let's hope their relationship continues to be okay. But that's pretty much everything that happened this season of Mop Talk, of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. It was so fucking good. It had me at the edge of my seat. I've had a very stressful week. My dad was back in the hospital, and then we ended up having to go into a nursing home, and I've been spending a bunch of my days with him. So this was really great to have something to watch while I'm at the hospital and at the nursing home. So this show was perfect for that. All right, that's all for Secret Lives of the Mormon Wives. On to the Summer House finale. Where the fuck was the part about Paige catching Craig cheating, texting other girls twice while they were in a relationship? Where the fuck did that go? Also, where the fuck did the after show go? What is going on? Have you guys noticed that not only sometimes they're in the promos, they include things that you don't actually see in the season. That happens from time to time. But the fact that the after show just fucking went kaput and stopped like weeks and weeks ago, I'm a little confused. I'm a little confused by that because the after shows are where you get the real juice, where you get the real tea. And I think that might have been the problem because Paige was spilling a lot of tea about Craig. And I don't want to say that the network might be protecting him, but we also heard at the beginning of the season that from Kyle that we were going to see Craig acting up on Summer House this season. And that leads me to believe that Craig went to the house for more weekends that we saw, but he just wasn't included in the final cuts. And it's just, I don't fucking understand why. We've all seen him Craig messy before. Winter House, I will never forget him being like, I'm too rich to clean after he created that mess, like stomping glass everywhere, throwing plates, woke up the next morning. I don't clean. I'm too rich to clean. We know he's a douche. And obviously this is just me guessing, but something has to be going on for them to just completely pull the Summer House after show. That doesn't just happen for no reason. I find Lexi and Jesse so fucking exhausting. I can't with them. It's gotten to the point where I don't care what's going on. This was 3 months. You've known each other for 12 weekends. 12 weekends. 24 days. That's, how could that possibly be enough to merit all of this goddamn drama? It's too much. And honestly, both of them are lying. Both of them are lying. Both of them are deflecting. Both of them are immature. Jesse, like I've said a million times, quintessential fuckboy. Look up fuckboy in the dictionary. It's Jesse and all his teeth just like smiling back at you. Ugh. And Lexi, is she a pick-me? I don't know. It's giving, yeah, she gives a little pick-me-sha. And that's a match made in hell. So do I think that Jesse was going out of his way to purposefully keep her away from the girls and keep him all to himself? No, I think Jesse was going out of he was suffocating her, like he said, because that's what you do with a girl who like has dated Drake and Brooklyn Beckham before. He literally said, yeah, I've love bombed her. I could see that because I was dealing with a girl of her caliber. And so that was the motive. Not, I don't want her hanging out with the girls. I want to ruin her relationship with the girls. That's not it at all. First of all, that's up to her. You're a grown woman. She's only 2 years younger than Sierra, guys. Lexi is like 27, Sierra's 29. If you want to hang out with the girls, get up and fucking hang out with the girls. You're living in the same house. If he was being overbearing and weird, why didn't you tell him to come the fuck down because you want to hang out with the girls? If he was telling you I love you and you didn't feel it back, why didn't you tell him to slow down? He didn't cast a spell on her. She was equally a part of making this relationship a shit show. And I find that she often does not make sense. I don't understand what she's saying ever, really. Like with Sierra, I still can't wrap my mind around why she wouldn't trust Sierra. I just saw her in, what was it, that desert show? Coachella with Jesse. So obviously they're friends again. We talked about this last week. But Sierra, we have this word in Amharic. It's called sinistrat. It means like she's serious. Like she's a serious person. She like moves about things with purpose and with her head held high, and she just knows what she's doing. She's a bad bitch. She's sinistrat. She's a serious girl. She's not one to just get over things or let things go. So if Jesse was really talking shit about her, saying horrible things about her, then I don't think that Sierra would still be giving him the time of day. She's just not that kind of bitch. So that leads me to believe that Lexi is exaggerating probably all the things that Jesse said about Sierra or didn't say about Sierra. I think she's just inferring quite a bit from that weekend that she was away that everybody said they were what is it called again? Flirting. So Jesse and Sierra were good for 2 weekends out of this summer prior to him telling her, "Don't touch me anymore," and her being like, "Okay, fuck you." Avoids him for the rest of the summer. Where could Sierra possibly be the issue in this circumstance? They didn't even interact long enough for her to be seen as particularly flirty. He is the one who is obsessed with her, and rightfully so, because that is the baddest bitch in all the land. Lexi finding a way to project this onto Sierra makes it clear that it's giving pick-me-ish. So the pick-me and the fuckboy. A grim fairy tale. I feel really bad for Sierra trying to like live her life footloose and fancy free, not even thinking about Jesse. And suddenly every time she walks into the room, she's like, "What's the drama?" Truly expecting to hear some shit about someone else. And she hears it's actually about you. She's shocked, she's shook, and she's shaken because, like, how could that be possible? I didn't even fuck with you for 70% of the summer. How could it possibly have to do with Sierra? Ugh, gross. One more thing about Lexi. She was like, "Oh, he keeps trying to make me out to be like this jealous person that I'm not." Didn't Lexi literally on their first date when they went like bowling or something say, "I get really jealous"? You are the one who said that about yourself. So I think he was just trying to force himself to live within those parameters that he didn't want to. He wanted to have sex with you. Being exclusive was the only way he could make that happen. So he did, even though he would have much rather preferred to just keep it casual and fuck around. When that happens, the relationship always ends poorly. Okay. If a person is just being exclusive with you just so they can get into your pants before they even know anything about you, how are you going to be exclusive with someone after a first date? You don't know if you even like this man. How are you going to give up other dick for this man? I don't understand. You don't know him. He could be a bad person. You've decided now after an entire summer that he is a bad person, but like that just seems unreasonable to me. Him getting his toe sucked, it was probably his dick. Did he agree to be exclusive? Yes, he did. Does that put him at fault? Absolutely. Should he have agreed to be exclusive? Absolutely not. Should Lexi have even wanted to be exclusive after knowing him for 2 minutes? Absolutely not. So they're all fucked in the head. And I no longer give a damn. Just leave Sierra out of it. You absolute kookadoodle doos. All right. And also, I just saw Jesse on Watch What Happens Live, and he was on the show with Wes. And Andy was like, "So, Wes, how do you feel about Jesse getting jealous about you and Lexi potentially like flirting on that night out?" And Jesse has the audacity to say, "Fake news." Andy was like, "Sir, we are on a reality television show. We saw it." And he was like, "No, I don't actually think that was what it was. Like, I'll have to watch." The gaslighting was fucking insane. Even Wes was like, "Bro, it's fine. We saw it. You were. It's okay." And he just kept on being like, "No, I don't think that." I think I was saying that I was really happy that she was flirting with Wes because she sees that I was doing the same thing with Sierra. And if she's doing with Wes, then obviously neither of us are doing something bad. It's just like, what are you talking? First of all, the disagreement you're having is like she said I was not flirting with this man. He was blacked out drunk, drooping over, and I was trying to drag him into the house. And I believe her when she says that. And I absolutely believe that Jesse was drunk and trying to find the one thing to grab onto to justify any previous or future flirting he might do. See, you were flirting with Wes and I didn't care, so it can't be that bad that I flirted with Sierra. Or, "Oh my god, what do you mean you were flirting with Wes last week? Why do you care that I'm like buying this girl a shot? Come on." It's disingenuous and it's bullshit, just like he is disingenuous and bullshit. And I've said it once, I've said it again. For someone who has looked death straight in the eyes, Jesse has a shocking lack of substance. It is incredible. One would assume he'd done some soul searching, but no. It's giving Saxon, and I don't know what's gonna get him to the point where he picks up that book and starts reading it. I don't know, the How to Be a Better Person book, but it's time to check it out from the library, boo. He's a motherfucking mess. Wes. Oh, Wes. What is there to say about Wes? Wes is a nervous little man. He's an anxious little feller. I don't know how he ended up on the show. Guys, he is entertaining. He's funny. I really enjoy his confessionals, but I do not understand how he ended up on the show because real time conflict, not his expertise. Actually, any kind of situation that isn't like objectively funny, lighthearted, silly, he no idea how to communicate, how to interact. It's like he's a fucking Bambi, just born, learning to walk. He doesn't know what's going on. I saw a preview for Summer House next week, and he's like pulling a paper out, and he's like, "Yeah, I brought notes. It says speak, bitch. Please tell me you took a beta blocker. Please tell me that Paige passed you a beta blocker because I don't think that note is going to be enough. I don't know what it is. Maybe he needs hypnotism therapy for him too. Because whatever he's got going on there is so bizarre. But I just came across a video of Wes talking about how he voted for Kamala and how he's like a feminist and his mom was an OBGYN. So like, he's a good guy. He's just a scared little boy. And just grow up, learn how to speak, string some words together. I wonder if it's just like he has a hard time communicating while he's on television, or if it's like that's just who he is. If he was having dinner with you and he got uncomfortable, would he be able to finish a sentence? Would he start sweating profusely, like water trickling down his face? Sir, would you like a napkin? I don't know. But I'm interested to see how he behaves at the reunion, which should be okay for him because he's probably not going to be on the hot seat this year since he didn't say anything all summer. I didn't hear a peep out of that man other than him saying that Wes and Lexi are weird. Just but like everybody agrees that Jesse and Lexi are weird. So at least we know for surezies that Lexi has secured her seat on Summer House for next season because they love an uncomfortable ex situation up in that bitch. But I put money on the fact that they end up hooking up again next summer because that's what pick-me's and fuckboys do. That is the natural cycle of their relationships. That is how that works. So finally, okay, Danielle came back. And I gotta say, still hate that bitch. She is the absolute worst. And the part that really pissed me off is when she was sitting there talking to Kyle and Lindsay. And she kept going on. This feels like the end. This feels like the closing of a chapter. You're crazy if you think this isn't the end of something. What are you even fucking talking about? First of all, you don't think she's already thinking of these things? This is her livelihood, and she just had a baby, and she's trying to figure out how those two things can exist in this world. It is not so black and white when this is your entire world. And just because you are no longer on the show doesn't mean you should be chomping at the bit for it to be over. She is such a fucking hater. Even from Lindsay having her baby. You guys don't live together, Lynn? So it's like a little bit. Every time she's on the screen, she's just nagging at Lindsay about what she's doing wrong or what she's expecting that isn't real or whatever. Girl, how is Dawn doing? Is Dawn going to be here next season? Is Dawn a functioning app? CEO and founder? How about you worry about that and worry less about what Lindsay's going to be doing next season? Because you bet you I would be down to see Gemma doing a milk bong, frankly. I would a million times rather have Gemma be the new castmate than bringing Danielle back. For God's sake, please. And I speak for all of us. All of us. She is infuriating. She just carries herself as if she knows everything. She has all the answers. She is wise and she's a CEO and founder and she's a bad boss bitch. And it's just, ew. First of all, your app is a disaster. It doesn't work. Okay. Everybody hates it. You can't know everything if you don't know how to run your business. And for our segment, Hot Girl Things, where we talk about things in politics, policy, and global news, because hot girls stay informed, I want to talk about Kourtney Kardashian, actually. She was on Khloe Kardashian's podcast, and she was saying how school is so overrated. All right. And when I tell you the fire that was lit under me when I heard her say that, and of course, Khloe agreed. And I usually love Khloe, but this was a huge miss on her part. What do you mean school is overrated? Where do you think these children should go? Education is important. Not everyone can afford a private education or afford a tutor. Not everyone has the time to dedicate to making sure that their children are reaching their educational milestones. And some, frankly, simply are not prepared to provide the kind of education that a student requires to excel academically. For the vast majority of parents in this country, having their kids out of school with a governess or some shit is simply not an option. And when they talk about school as if it's overrated, and do we really need it? And in the time when Donald Trump is actively trying to tear apart the Department of Education that millions of children depend on, not just to learn, but to eat for safety. When COVID happened, the amount of abuse cases amongst children skyrocketed because there was no escape, there was no respite, there was no place to go, no freedom from their abusers, their captors, which sometimes are their parents. There are so many circumstances where school is the only lifeline for children to get out of a tough situation, the only lifeline for a parent to be able to keep their kids somewhere safe and be able to work to support them. It's so important. Education, you can't just think of it from the scope of your own socioeconomic place. We are all existing on this planet. We all exist in this country. You have to be conscientious about how these systems, these departments, all of these federally run organizations that are key parts of keeping children alive, safe, educated, moving forward in life might not touch you directly, but they're impactful, important, and just their only lifelines. So it's just insane. Like, you can go to, I take my kids to a soup kitchen every Thanksgiving so they can see like how lucky we have it. That's okay, fine, whatever, tepid as it might be. Fine, that's okay. But what I would really prefer is if you educated yourself on basically anything that doesn't immediately have to do with your own id and your own fucking just nonsense beliefs. She's just such a nonsense person. On that note, a federal judge did just block Trump's attempts to dismantle the Department of Education. So just buckle up for another 4 years of this exact thing. Trump trying to tear this country apart and the federal courts having to block him. Truly, the judicial branch of the United States government is the only thing that's holding us together right now. That's all we got because it's our fault. And honestly, let's not go down this road right now. And that is it for Hot Girl Things. Okay. The Department of Education is open currently. Hopefully it remains open. Kourtney Kardashian, you're a stupid girl. And that is all. On to the next. Welcome to Questionable Things, a segment where you ask me questions. They do not have to be pop culture related, and I do my best to answer them. All right. And today, our first question is from Jarobin VM. Are you going back to grad school ever? That's a good question. I never thought I would. When I was younger, I assumed that I would take my English degree and I would eventually get my MFA in creative writing and hopefully be like a starving artist my entire life. And as I grew up, learned that isn't the life for me, and also don't really see that much value at this point investing money in an MFA. But now as time goes on, I'm actually considering law school. I have been poking around, seeing what my credits look like. It's so fucking crazy going back and like looking through your transcripts to see whether or not you have a prerequisite this or that in order to like actually be able to matriculate. But yeah, college was like a decade ago. I have an incredible amount of life and professional experience, and the law school seemed to value that. And I don't know if I don't know what I would do with it. That's the thing. Part of me feels like it's the right thing to do, but I don't really know what kind of law I would want to practice. Like entertainment law does sound good and interesting, but it's also like a lot of contracts, and but that's law in general. All of that to say, yes, I have thought about going back to law school. I am most likely going to take the LSATs, and I just want to take it one step at a time. Let me get my LSATs done, and we'll see how I score. And then we'll see if I'm still in a place where I do want to go to law school. And if so, we'll continue moving forward. And I know that some people might say it's crazy. You don't go take the LSATs without planning on going to law school. Don't tell me what to fucking do. And don't tell me what I can and cannot do. If I take the LSATs and decide I don't want to go to law school, fuck it. If I do, and I still am in a place where I think that's the right place for me, I will. Really, the world is my oyster. When I was younger, I never considered it law school, but I think it really does make sense. And I find the law interesting in general. I've taken a bunch of practice tests, and I've done pretty well for someone who hasn't been in school for a very long time. It's a lot of like logic and reasoning. If you catch me out here saying I passed my LSATs or I got a high score, don't be surprised. And if you don't hear that, then know I fucked it up. Okay, next question. This is from Eli Elils 924. Describe your ideal partner. Rich. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. My ideal partner. Kind. Like decent. Has integrity. Values doing the right thing. Someone who is smart. Who is curious and asks questions and finds things outside of his like immediate day-to-day life interesting. Someone who, I don't know, cares about the world around them, someone conscientious, someone very honest, civically engaged. I want someone who cares about politics and this being a contributing member of society, of the society that we all have to take a part in. Someone who is not judgmental, who is not like high strung, not moody. I don't handle moody people well. I think that it's not a real thing. It's like a choice. You're not just moody. You have control over your emotions. Act like a normal person. Don't let your nonsense permeate through the whole room. I hate those kind of people. I just fucking hate that shit. So not that. And like a feminist, a guy who really wants daughters, a Jew, preferably, but I'm open. Financially stable, obviously. I feel like that goes without saying. Someone with a career, someone with a passion, someone who feels they have purpose in this world, and someone very supportive and who isn't cagey about his feelings and who knows how to communicate. Isn't this what everyone wants, though? Who would hear those descriptors and be like, "Oh, I don't want a conscientious, kind man with a job"? What we all want that. Of course, I don't want to see a conservative get out of my sight. No, I just like no douchebags. I want very limited ego. One thing about me is that narcissistic men hate me. They hate me so much. I don't know if I give off an odor. I don't know if there's a look on my face, but every narcissistic man I've ever had to repeatedly come in contact with just find me infuriating. And I'm just running around living my footloose and fancy free life. And something about that tends to piss them off. That's my claim to fame. But yeah, someone who's just like gentle and stable and honest and obsessed with me. I don't need a golden retriever. I want like a Doberman on the outside, golden retriever on the inside. To me, the only person you have to be like nice and super obsessed with is me and potentially our children. I don't care about the rest. Yeah. And someone who will let me do absolutely whatever I want and who will support all of my dreams, whims, ambitions, purchases, all of the above, right? That is my dream man. And thank you for asking. Okay. That is all for this episode of Saron Things. Thank you so much for joining me. I had a fabulous time yapping at you. If you want to listen to this podcast, you can catch it everywhere that podcasts are found. Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Please give us a rating, 5 stars. That would be amazing. And please leave a review because those are super helpful. Just say she's perfect, she's stunning, she's gorgeous, she's just like delectable and fantastic in every way. That would be soups helpful. Otherwise, have a lovely week, my preciouses, and I will talk to you next Tuesday. Toodaloo.